Vision Zero is the philosophy that when drivers crash their SUVs into something, it should not result in death or serious injury. People are fallible, so minor collisions will happen. A city that is doing Vision Zero correctly will investigate every serious collision and change the road design to try and stop future serious collisions. My city was an early adopter of Vision Zero, but is one of the many cities that thinks collisions can be prevented by telling people outside of SUVs to wear bright clothing. A better program my city has to reduce serious collisions is Zero Street Labs. The Zero Street Lab projects are intended to calm traffic in problem areas identified either by data or by community concerns. Now, it's great to be responsive to community concerns, but I have a previous video showing when one of these Vision Zero projects was more responsive to community concerns about free parking than any concerns about people being run over by drivers. The Streets Lab part of the name is an appropriate label for what's intended by these projects. Streets Labs projects are meant to be quick, cheap, non-permanent experiments to improve traffic safety. In this video, I want to talk about a Streets Lab project that was just completed. I will show what's been done and how effective I believe the changes will be. This is the community of Woodcroft. Whether through data or community request, my city decided to implement a traffic calming project here. There is public engagement where there seems to be a lot of concern about poor driver behavior. The roads are wide and straight, which encourages speeding. There are good connections between busy arterial roads, which encourages shortcutting through the community. And there's also seniors' residences, a high school, a library, a transit center, and commercial destinations, which encourage people to be walking and biking through the area. The city reports about 800 collisions in the area over 5 years, some resulting in serious injury. The city conducted consultations with the community to determine what were the concerns about bad driver behavior in the community. I actually replied to one of the online surveys with my concerns about the area. There's good bike infrastructure to the east of this community, and okay routes through quiet neighborhoods to the north. My feedback was that there was a bad break in bike infrastructure connectivity in this community. Just to the east, there is both a shallow and a wide sidewalk that lead people on bikes onto this collector road with no infrastructure. It's high-stress gaps like this in an otherwise low-stress route that stop many people from riding a bike. So, what's being done as part of this project? Let's look at that now. 3 types of traffic calming measures have been installed in the community: curb extensions, center meridians, and speed bumps. Curb extensions can slow SUVs and improve safety for people walking mostly in 2 ways. Curb extensions can be used to narrow driving lanes, which limits where people can drive, and may encourage them to slow down. They also shorten crossing distance for people at crosswalks. Some permanent curb extensions were installed in this community in the past, likely during neighborhood renewal. I think the curb extensions that were just installed are doing 2 good things. The ones at this 4-way stop prevent people from parking too close to the sidewalk. This is called daylighting. It gives better visibility near the crosswalk for drivers and people walking. The second good thing is that it limits each road to just 1 vehicle at a time. When riding through this intersection in the past, I would often see drivers near the yellow line turning left or going straight, and another driver close to the curb turning right at the same time. However, as someone who's usually riding a bike, I am not a fan of curb extensions. Curb extensions tend to force people on bikes out into traffic. Unlike going around a parked SUV, the curb extension is less visible to a driver trying to pass the person on a bike, so the driver might be surprised by the person on a bike moving further into the road. Some curb extensions are built with a way for a person on a bike to cut through the extension so they are not forced closer to SUVs, but that wasn't done in this case. The curb extensions that were installed also don't appear like they'll be very effective. They narrow the road slightly, but the driving lane is still 3.7 meters wide, which is 20 centimeters above the recommended upper limit for driving lanes with transit like these. I find these curb extensions especially useless because there's no center yellow line. When there isn't an oncoming SUV, drivers tend to just drive down the middle of the road. This is the worst curb extension added to the community. The nearby bushes don't make the sight lines great around the curve, and the curb extension moves drivers and people biking into the middle of the road just at the point drivers coming the opposite direction tend to cut the corner. Let's move on to the center meridian. Just 1 center meridian has been added to calm traffic in the neighborhood. I would prefer more meridians over the curb extensions. If done well, the meridians make the driver move to the right, which adds complexity to an otherwise wide and straight street. Center meridians also give people walking a refuge while crossing the street and don't force people on bikes into the driving lane. However, I don't think this center meridian is done well. It does make drivers move a meter to the right, but it doesn't narrow the driving lane, because parking has been banned. The remaining street is 3.9 meters wide, which is above the 3.75 meter upper limit the city traffic engineers want for a transit curb lane. I would prefer a treatment I once saw in Ottawa. Leave the parking and put flex posts down the middle of the road. The flex posts and parking visually narrowed the road and made me want to drive well below the speed limit. The examples I'm showing from Ottawa and Quebec City make the driving lane appear narrower and encourages drivers to slow down, or so my friends who sent me the pictures tell me. I expect this meridian to be removed due to the residents complaining about free parking. Free parking in front of your house on a public street is in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, or so most people seem to believe. These are the speed bumps that have been installed as part of the project. Speed bumps have been effective at reducing shortcutting elsewhere in the city, so we'll have to see how effective these ones turn out to be. Since most people drive a big truck or SUV in my city, speed bumps have to be pretty big to be effective. These speed bumps are wide but quite flat, in my opinion. I filmed one of the speed bumps for about 10 minutes. To me, it seemed that most drivers didn't slow down very much, and a few didn't slow down at all. And that's my look at the Vision Zero Street Labs traffic calming project in Woodcroft. My summary of these changes are that they are a gift from God. But it's the God from Futurama, whose saying was,
"When you do things right, people won't be sure you've done anything at all."
As a person on a bike who rides through Woodcroft often, pretty much nothing about the changes seems better. To me, so far, it doesn't feel like drivers are going any slower or traffic is reduced. Maybe people walking feel safer because they can take a step or two into the street behind the curb extensions. When on my bike, things feel worse because the curb extensions force me towards the middle of the street, closer to passing SUVs. My feedback on the project wasn't addressed at all by these changes, as nothing to make the streets less stressful for people on bikes was added. If you don't like to get in there with SUVs and mix it up, this area still breaks the connection between very good biking infrastructure to the east and decent neighbourhood biking to the north and west. If you've travelled through the area before and after the changes, I'm interested to read your reactions down in the comments. Thanks for watching.